The Cat Came Back. A short story by Tristan Mason. My father took me to a faraway city when I was 10 years old. He said Tuskegee was not a safe place for our people. He always spoke in terms of our people and the others when he was angry. Our old neighborhood made him so angry that he broke an object every night when he came home from work. He threw dishes out the window when the others tried to shut down his coffee shop. He snapped paintings on his knee when our people could not vote at the school across the street. The new neighborhood calmed him. "You going to finish unpacking, champ?" my father asked on a gusty day in early August. He leaned over the pine railing of our balcony and gripped the brim of his fedora. "This looks nothing like our old neighborhood. People ride bikes on checkerboard streets. You can buy food without worrying about which stores you're allowed to go to. No one stares at you funny. And best of all, beautiful women live in that house across the street from us. And the gov calls this place dangerous. Ha!" I nodded and flipped to the last page of my comic book. I miss playing stickball with my best friends, Johnny and Bobby. I miss Grandma Rose's ham hock and hush puppies, and building model airplanes with Grandpa Joe. I even miss old Miss Junebug and her screechy chalkboard. The people I cared about lived thousands of miles away. I felt like I was trapped on a faraway planet inhabited by pale-skinned Martians who spoke a tricky language. "You hungry, champ?" He posed this question while feasting his eyes on the fish market next to our apartment building. He reached into the pocket of his pinstripe jacket for a fistful of bronze coins. "Why don't you run down to that fish place next door, champ? They'll know what you want, as long as you point to it and hand them the money. Find the crate of snapper and get us 2 of those. You know, the silver ones. I think they called them, Gucci." He swung his right hand behind his back and waved to the woman across the street from us. I did not ask him how he planned to cook the snappers when our one-room apartment lacked a stove. I did not ask him about the women in colorful dresses who wore their hair in pointed buns and ghostly white makeup. I folded my comic book into my back pocket of my jeans, grabbed the gold coins, and walked down the pinewood staircase to the road. The peach-tinted sky illuminated the street like a Hollywood studio lamp kindles a movie set. I felt as if I was watching a movie. Men rode bikes with woven baskets full of food. They pedaled past me with neither eye contact nor expressions on their faces. Women strolled the cobbled sidewalks with their heads folded and their hands cast down. I walked by buildings with gently curved roofs and tents with large wooden crates stacked underneath. The fish store was located under a red tent painted in yellow symbols on its fabric. "Gucci," I said to the merchant standing behind a table. I held up my index and middle finger. His gray robe fluttered like he lacked a body underneath it. He bowed, flashed a brown-toothed smile, and reached into a crate for 2 ruler-sized snappers. "Arigato." The merchant widened his eyes, jumped back, and yelled. A white cat with orange and black patches of fur popped out of the crate and knocked it onto the pavement. The cat tried to bite the fish to no avail. I let out a high-pitched laugh. This cat reminded me of my grandma's cat, Whiskers. The merchant grabbed a broom and swung it at the cat. The cat sped off, and for some reason, I followed. I chased that cat through a sea of bikers and into a shadow-dipped alley. "Konichi, I'm Clement." I leaned against a sooty brick wall and bent over to catch my breath. The cat stopped in front of a tin trash pail and twitched his tail. He surveyed me with inquiring amber eyes, as if he were trying to sort me into a predator or prey category. "You kind of look like my grandma's cat. I think you two would get along. I'll call you Fat Man?" I paused. The cat tilted his head sideward. I had no clue why that name popped into my head. Fat Man looked skinny despite his heavy coat of fur. Fat Man also lacked the height of a man. Maybe Johnny or Bobby had told me about a new superhero named Fat Man before I left. I couldn't remember. My memories were fading to oblivion. "Do you want to come home with me? I don't have any friends here. My daddy said there aren't any kids in the neighborhood, and even if there are, I wouldn't be able to understand them. Fat Man trotted toward me. His striped tail switched in the air. I scratched his orange cheeks. My fingers felt numb. They dangled like the skeleton Miss Junebug kept in the corner of her classroom. She told the class we'd look like that many years from now. I made a puckering sound with my lips. Fat Man opened his tiny mouth, but no sound came out. I took a few steps forward. He twitched his tail and followed. Fat Man followed me to the apartment staircase. He tiptoed through the dirt road without leaving a single footprint behind. My father stood at the top of the balcony with a beer bottle in one hand and his black leather belt in the other. He loved to drink during sunset. He drank when my mother left him for the school teacher in the neighboring town. He drank when the police arrested him for sitting in a white-only diner. He tried to drink the afternoon we left Tuskegee, but the refrigerator was empty. "Where's my snapper?" He cracked his bill like a whip. I stood motionless. Fat Man raised his tail in the air and flexed his pointy white claws. I whispered, "No, don't," as my father tilted his fedora and flung his belt a second time. "Who are you talking to? It better be my goddamn snapper." "I found him near the market, Dad," I said, shivering and shuffling my feet. "He followed me here. Doesn't he look like Grandma's cat?" "I don't see a cat. I want my goddamn snapper!" His jacket fluttered with the wind like he lacked a body underneath. He bit his lip and glared. "Come here, champ." I started to walk up the stairs with my head cast down. I could hear Fat Man hiss. The sound reminded me of the king snakes that lurked in the tall grass of our old backyard. My father never cut the grass. He never so much as looked at the grass. He stuffed cotton balls in his ears at night and closed the blinds. As Fat Man hissed, he looked around, grasping the bill tight beneath his fingers. I looked back at the cat. He stood with his back arched. His amber eyes bubbled with rage. "I told you to come here, champ!" My father's eyes averted mine. They drifted into the distance, perhaps to our old backyard. He could not see Fat Man at the bottom of the stairs. His hands trembled as he drew back his belt to strike me. I shut my eyes so tight that they began to water. "Stand still, champ. You're going to learn a lesson of responsibility." I waited for the impact. My father screamed. Fat Man clung to his jacket with razor claws and swatted at his face. Twisting and twirling, my father hollered and stumbled backward onto the pine railing. With each curse, Fat Man dug his claws deeper into his chest. For a moment, I imagined his clothes and skin dissolving to a shiny white skeleton. I imagined his jawbone expanding so wide that it would almost snap. "That's enough, Fat Man!" I shouted. Tears streamed down my cheeks. Fat Man turned to me and blinked. He retracted his claws and leaped over the railing. He landed in front of a girl who wore a white sundress. She laughed and chased him down the street. He had no shadow. "I'm going to bed," my father said, wiping the blood from underneath his eyes. He took off his fedora and scratched his shiny bald head. He stared at the fallen belt inside. I should have known there were snakes in Nagasaki. That bastard struck me before I even got a good look at him. "You, go inside soon. It's not safe out here." He walked into the apartment and closed the blinds. I leaned over the railing and waited till the blood-red moon eclipsed the sky. The cat came back the very next day. Fat Man sat at the bottom of the staircase with a snapper pinched between his teeth. I grinned and ran down to see him. He dropped the fish in front of me and purred. Suddenly, I saw the girl in the white sundress. Her pale face and her silky, shoulder-length hair glowing in the morning sun. "You didn't tell me you had an owner, Mr. Wigglepuss!" She spoke English and loudly. The girl smiled with her eyes, squinted, and extended a hand. You must be Mr. Wigglepuss's owner. My name is Lita Kato. Are you from America? Hi, Lisa. I'm Clement. I shook hers. Fat Man rubbed against our legs, purring louder. Yeah, I'm from America. I moved here a couple days ago from Tuskegee. My dad said we are safer here. And I'm not his owner. I found them yesterday by the fish market. What a coincidence! Lisa jumped, still holding my hand tight. I found Mr. Wigglepuss yesterday too, and my father said the same thing. He said it's not safe for us in Anaheim. He said they're forcing our people into camps. And they're not the good kind of camps that you go to during the summertime. Oh, really? I pulled my hand away from hers. Lisa nodded, still smiling widely. My entire body itched and burned. I started scratching my cheeks. Fat Man purred louder. Well, at least we're safe here. My dad said people don't care what you look like in Nagasaki. I don't know if that's true, and I don't know if we're safe, Clement. I heard on the radio that Hiroshima was bombed a few days ago. Hey, Clement, why is your skin coming off your face? Fat Man purred louder. My face felt like a skeleton. I touched in Miss Junebug's class. Fat Man meowed. Lisa was a shiny white skeleton. Her bones were spilling on the dirt road and dissolving into ash. Fat Man hollered. I could see his shadow. It grew tall enough to scrape the smoke-filled sky. Before I could scream, a blinding light filled my eyes. The light splashed through my skin, into my bloodstream. It ignited my bones. When I heard a voice, the light stopped. I saw my father. You going to finish unpacking, champ? My father asked on a gusty day in early August. He leaned over the pine railing of our balcony and gripped the brim of his fedora.